I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, April 13th, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center here at 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Can I have the minutes of the board meeting of supervisors, regular meeting held on Friday, 23rd, 2018, and the treasurer's report and golf financials, January 31st, 2018. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Comments? Chrissy?
Supervisor Steele?
Yes.
Supervisor Branson?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
President Camp?
Yes. Okay. The next part of the action agenda is a presentation from Henry Delosier and Global Golf Advisors. This is going to be a conference call. Tanya, do you have any comments before we contact him? Or?
We provided the board an agenda from Henry, and we're going to display that here on the screen today. So, Tennille, if you want to go ahead and give him a call. The purpose of his presentation
Hello,
today
and welcome to the meeting. Please enter your
debrief us
passcode
on his
followed by the
visit
pound or
he was
hash
here
key,
on February
and I'll connect
21st.
you.
I don't believe these. I don't believe this.
Please hold while I
Can you guys
confirm
hear
your
the sound back there?
passcode. 3,
I didn't
3,
think so.
1, 4, 5 is not a passcode that I can confirm. Please try entering your passcode again, followed by the pound or hash key. Please hold while I confirm your passcode. Thank you for joining Global Meet. Please wait for the tone. Then say your name and press the pound or hash key.
Tanya.
When you hear the tone, you will be the fourth person to join the meeting.
Yes. Good morning. You have on the line Michael Gregory, Ben Hopkinson, and Henry Delosier from Global Golf Advisors.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Henry. This is Tanya.
Hello, Tanya.
Can you hear back
I'm not
there?
exactly sure where you are in the process of your meeting. We want to pitch in wherever called upon.
We are right at the beginning of the meeting, and the floor is yours, Henry, if you'd like to start your presentation. Can the board hear him okay?
Oh, goodness.
I am having some difficulty.
Okay, just a minute, Henry. We're gonna get our speakers situated for you.
Okay, thank you.
That's a little better. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Henry, this is Mark Camp. Henry, this is Mark
If you have
Camp.
difficulty hearing our comments, please do tell us, and we'll try to speak louder.
Thank you, Henry. This is Mark. You're ready to go? Go ahead. We're waiting.
Okay. Thank you very much. The first item that we have on our report to you as a board is to cover the overview of our assignment and the timeline. As you know, our key objective is to develop a strategic plan for Sun and Lake. And we are right on schedule with our plan. We are executing our market analysis, evaluation of operations, review of the governance processes, and trying to give you a sense of what we think the financial study is going to show. So with that as an overview, I note again that we believe we're right on schedule with what we have projected the timeline will be for the assignment. The first impressions, which is Roman numeral 2 in our presentation outline, is to talk about the condition of the assets as an overarching statement, my observation is that the asset condition is quite good. I had the privilege of touring your new maintenance compound, which is excellent. You have certain requirements of which you are fully aware in the clubhouse. There's no need for me to belabor those other than to emphasize that I believe you're on the right track with the improvements that you're planning. I found golf course conditions to be beneath the same standard that you have established for the care and upkeep of your other assets. And I believe that the steps that you're going to take in terms of improving golf course conditions are right on the mark. Having walked through the agronomic thinking and the agronomic planning with your golf course superintendent, it's clear to me that he knows what needs to be done, and he may call upon you for additional resources in order to get that work completed. And at that point, Ben, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to speak up to what you're seeing as it relates to the financial profile of golf course care and upkeep.
Thanks, Henry. Yeah, we're noticing, throughout the golf course profile, the care and upkeep, expenses, both labor and other operating, are within our benchmark range, typically towards the low end, and managed kind of leanly. So that's certainly going to be one thing to look out for in the future. If one of the goals is to increase the quality of the golf offering, it may tie into the rates and membership fees having to be increased in the future. And we also noticed in the market that the current pricing structure, the current programming for the membership at Sun and Lake is priced appropriately. The discounts for supplemental memberships are appropriate, and they're aligned with kind of towards the high end of the local market, which is where we believe it should be.
Okay, thank you, Ben. And currently, we are reviewing governance practices and especially looking to understand the requirements that the Florida statutes place on the district in terms of how it executes its business related to the golf and the golf club. And if we will, in a coming call, we'll report into you on our findings and any recommendations that we might want to bring forward. Ben signaled to you some of the characteristics of our financial review, and I want to circle back to my comment with regard to the golf course conditions. And I can offer you a specific example. I asked how many employees care for the golf courses, and the response was 22, which is right on track with what is normally done for an 18-hole golf facility. And so when I asked, how many do you have for the other course, and the response was, that's for both, it signaled to me that you're getting a tremendous amount of work done on a very limited basis. So the good news is your people are working hard and performing at the high end of their productivity range. And the bad news is we may come back to you and suggest that there be benefit in adding a few more at certain times of the year or under certain conditions. Ben spoke to you about the financial overview that we have seen. Again, we are impressed at the degree of attention and detail that has been given to financial record keeping. We're collecting additional information, and we're very grateful to Tanya and her staff for helping us to put together that information. Ben, before I hand back to you for any other comments on the financials, would you like to add anything more before we move to market analysis?
I think you summed it up pretty good, Henry. But the only thing I would add is that, looking back at the historic capital spend, specifically related to the golf fund, I think it's been well managed, and there's based on what we typically see in terms of kind of a gross revenue benchmark, the club is spending the appropriate amounts to maintain the assets. So the next step will be to look at that future capital plan and see if any tweaks need to be made there, or if it's well planned out for maintaining the asset in the future.
Good. Thank you, Ben. And then why don't you segue right along to our early findings as it relates to the market, and then I'll add my comments as a backup.
Sure. So as I touched on a little bit, we kind of scrutinized the membership plan. Specifically, we looked at the local market and compare kind of the pricing and the offering to that local market. And we find that Sun and Lake is kind of appropriately positioned near the high end of that market, where they should be. Then we also took a look at a regional set of clubs. Kind of within the extended area, that clubs that we have experience with, that we think that would be similar offerings, got a similar element of kind of a semi-private, open to the public facilities, and we look at some of those clubs to better give a better comparison set for Sun and Lake, and get new ideas for programming and for where that price point should be at Sun and Lake. So that's the process we're currently taking right now, and so far there's nothing major, something out of the market in terms of changes needed for membership or for pricing.
Good. Thank you, Ben. I'll add to the market analysis. There is another opportunity for growth for Sun and Lake and other communities like Sun and Lake in the Florida market area, and that is many people who had hoped to retire earlier in this, let's just say, century, a decade ago, who were caught unprepared somewhat by the recessionary cycle, are now coming to the time when they are planning to retire into a full-time retirement. And that is going to introduce a new wave of potential buyers for a community like yours. It's important that we plan and we collectively develop our method by which Sun and Lake is going to expand its market reach and make itself more accessible to people who are shopping for Florida destinations. So we'll have more details on that as we move forward, but the real key is for you to know that there is an accumulation of retirees who are going to be coming to your market. I'm reluctant to say flooding your market, but coming to your market that should bring a lift to the market for the central Florida market areas, and we think that could be very advantageous for Sun and Lake. So with that summary of our observations and findings to date, may we entertain any questions for any of you?
Board, excuse me, any board questions for Henry? Okay, well. Currently, we do not have any additional questions, Henry. Hopefully at a future date we will. I'll be honest with you, we did have a little bit of difficulty here with the audio. And I do have one of the supervisors here, Ray Brooks, would like to ask a question. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, Henry, good morning. Listen, when you were checking out the clubhouse, we've had a conversation about the kitchen. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on possible expansion. I mean, just give me an idea what you were thinking about that.
Thanks for the question, Ray, and good morning. My observations with regard to your kitchen and your plans for the renovation of the clubhouse and remodel of the kitchen is that something that's very much needed. Your kitchen lacks the capacity to consistently meet your consumption demand. So, as a broad statement, my support is there for the work that you're planning as it relates to the kitchen.
So you're not opposed to us if you think it's a good idea to expand it? I'm just trying to get
I am not opposed to your kitchen plans, and I support them.
Okay. Let me ask you another question on the golf course. you said that everything seemed to be in line with the capital expenditures that were put forth for the next 5 years? Is that what I understood?
But couldn't quite hear what you said, Ray.
On the golf course, I'm just trying to verify, the capital expenditures that were submitted to the board, I think you got the review, and I just want to confirm that you thought they were all, in line with what we should be doing, based on what you saw?
Yes, I think they are on track, and I think that you're going to find that you're going to need to do certain things to accelerate the improvement of turf conditions. My read of the turf conditions in touring the golf courses was that the conditions are about C as in Charlie conditions, and I think your market wants something that's more in the neighborhood of a B+. So that's going to require some improvements, and that may require some additional material.
Okay. Let me ask you another question, since I'm on a roll. As far as the recreational offerings that we have, like the pool, tennis courts, bocce ball courts, how do you feel about that? Are we online with that? Is there something that we need to do, or everything's okay?
That should be another round of improvements that you start planning. You have ticked off the boxes for those non-golf recreational activities, and you probably need to plan on expanding them, because demand for those non-golf activities is growing, and you want to be able to serve that demand.
So when you say expand what we have, what exactly are you referring to?
Increase the capacity of each of those. If that means a few more tennis courts, if that means more pickleball, if that means more bocce, you should be preparing for that. As it relates to pool, the real trend on pool areas is to be able to accommodate grandchildren and to have a lot of area around the pool for people to gather and socialize.
Okay. I was going to ask you, do you also recommend how we find all this money to do this?
I'm sorry, couldn't hear what you said, Ray.
So I figured you missed that one. That's all I got, Henry. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Henry, this is Mark. I do have actually a couple questions, since Ray had a few concerns. We talked about expansion, we talked about the kitchen, we talked about improvements on the golf, we talked about the pool, and on all those amenities that would go to our constituents. I know it's very early, and this is a planning process, a strategic process that's going to take place over a number of years. Is there any way you could put into perspective at this point in time, with our community the way it exists today, if you were to prioritize some of those items that were discussed, i.e. kitchen, golf, pool, and so on, would you have a particular order that you would like to see the improvements take place on? For an example, you talked about the golf course as being somewhere in the area of a C or a C+, and our clientele would probably be looking at a B+ type of an environment. We certainly would be looking at, if we have to sustain a larger group of people here, we would definitely need to be able to expand our kitchen to be able to take care of those people, and so on, and the same with the pool. So right back to my original question, how would you prioritize these things if we started to work on these in our next budgeting process and we were to put them down in our budget?
Great question, and we'll give a lot more thought to giving you a prioritized sequence of our recommendations, but shooting from the hip right now, my rationale is that the first point of focus should be on the kitchen and your dining capability, because everyone eats. And then I would go next to your non-golf amenities, because those will be the ones that will sell the properties for the next round of growth for Sun and Lake. The people who will be coming to Sun and Lake will be looking for golf and more. So they'll want to see that you have a nice and robust assortment of non-golf recreation. And then, of course, the backbone of the community will always be the golf. So you want to keep improving golf in a steady manner. I believe your golf course superintendent has that capability and is going to be able to deliver that. So that was my sequencing right now.
Thank you, Henry, I appreciate it.
Just repeat them back. Make sure we got it right. Repeat it back.
I just wrote them down. His priorities.
Can I answer? Can I answer any other
You did. Your
questions?
priorities were first and foremost actually at the kitchen area to be able to support the community and the growing community. I mean, all of these things will fall into place. I wasn't, like I said, I know it's very, very early on, and I was just trying to get a feel for it, and, you know, I'm sure that as the timeline gets a little closer, we'll have more defined objectives to, or the timeline as to what we should have.
And we will certainly offer our recommendations on those.
Okay, thank you, Henry. Are there any other questions from the board? At this time, can we do public comment?
It's up to you if you want to.
Yep, I would. Henry, we have a number of people out here that are in attendance in the meeting. I'm going to ask them if they do have any public comment and possibly any questions. I realize, once again, it's very early in the stage, and I'm sure they don't expect to have any definitive answers, but maybe some very generic answers. So at this time, I'm asking, is there any public comment? Okay, that was pretty simple. There is no public comment, Henry, so I greatly appreciate your time and your colleagues' times, and looking forward to working with you in the near future.
Thank you very much. We really enjoy working with you.
Have a great day.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that this next resolution number 2018-0309-09, a resolution of Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve the purchase of a Toro Sand Pro through Billy Casper Golf's nationally negotiated pricing for $20,343.07 and a budget amendment for the 2018-2 fund the purchase. Tanya, you want to address this?
Yes. I'll go ahead and read the memo here from Jim Kurtzborn. The golf maintenance staff is requesting a new Sand Pro machine with the blade attachment to be purchased as soon as possible so they can have the ability to move the sand in our bunkers to make the depth of the sand more uniform. This is a new model to the Sand Pro fleet, and the current Sand Pro inventory consists of 5 units. 2 units were purchased in 2004, with the other 3 basic model units purchased in 2015. One of the 2004 units is non-operational, and we'll take that to surplus and auction at a future date.
Okay, thank you.
President Camp, we need a motion to
approve.
So moved.
Second.
Board discussion?
I have a question. Very good. Who am I asking? Ron? So we have equipment that we use for the bunkers now? Because I've never seen any equipment in the bunkers or at all.
Yes.
You have seen it?
We do, yeah.
So we have, every morning. How many machines do we have now? 4? 5?
There's currently 5 machines.
And we need another one?
Of the 5, one is non-operational.
Okay.
So once the one that's non-operational goes to surplus, we'll go back to the level of 5 sand units. The one that we're requesting is more of a specialized unit to move the sand accordingly around the bunkers. But we use the vehicles to go in the bunker to rake, and then they, the ones they can't get to, they'll do some hand raking around the sides.
If I understand correctly, this one has a blade on the front of it that you can push
Correct.
the sand up the side.
Correct.
So that you don't have
So-
all the sand in the bottom
Right.
of the trap.
Similar to a snow plow almost, to move the material around.
So we need five five machines.
Correct. For the amount of bunkers that are out on the property. Because in the more,
Do we have 5 people who use them all? I mean,
we do.
we only got 22 employees is what I was just told a little while ago. We have 5 people that rate the bunkers?
We do.
They're all done by 9 o'clock in the morning.
Huh?
They're all done by 9 o'clock.
Right.
in the
We have to,
morning.
So what do we give it up? If we go for the 20,000, what do we give up?
if, unfortunately, right, well, let me see. Hold on a second. In terms of removing something from the current capital, I'd have to circle back. So my request would be to table this resolution until I can answer the question at a later date.
I'm fine with the
Yeah. The challenge,
as long as we give something
right.
up.
The challenge that we have is, from an operational standpoint, is because of the shotguns at 8 a.m., rightfully so, every member, guest, resident, wants perfect playing conditions when they go out on the course. So in order for us to knock out the mowing of the greens, knock out the bunkers being prepped for the day, that's the reason there's 5. And if it was just normal operations, just use tee off hole 1, you would definitely not need 5 units. But due to the fact of,
Okay, I think there is a cooker or a smoker. Did we do that? Have we bought that yet?
We have not. I was going to assist
Please,
Ron
yeah.
in that. There's 3 items that we haven't purchased yet that's currently budgeted. One is a spreader for $5,500, budgeted at that amount. The next one is a beverage station, and the other one is a cooker, smoker, new kitchen equipment. So those are the 3 items that have not been purchased yet.
Yeah, so I've spoken to Kevin, the smoker can be passed. I mean, we're not going to move forward with purchasing that item, and I don't have the amount in front of us.
12,000.
12,000 was budgeted.
Right, so that can be removed.
Okay,
The
good.
second was the other.
The beverage
The beverage
station.
unit could be, it's more of an amenity, obviously, for the membership right outside the, that would be a nice improvement. And then the spreader, I'd have to have Earl come up here and discuss that if we want to remove that
I'd be
from the
happy
unit.
with just the cooker, smoker. You take that 12,000 out, that means it's only 8,000 that we weren't expecting.
Correct. So yeah, from an operations standpoint, we can definitely remove the smoker from this year's approved capital.
Tanya?
Okay.
Tanya, just a quick, the cooker is 12,000 some
It's
change?
budgeted at that,
Yeah,
yes.
roughly budgeted, and in the enclosure, wasn't that somewhere around 7,000?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I got it right now.
Oh, you have it in front of you, okay. So that would cover the cost right there, correct?
The 2 of them together, yes, that would.
And if you wanted to forego those, then we could vote on this right away. We wouldn't have to table
Yeah,
this.
from our standpoint, we would be okay with those 2 items being removed for this year's capital. And then as we get into next year's, we can talk through budget workshop if that's something that, specifically I'll call comfort station for the members, residents, and guests. The way it looks now is obviously not the most professional, so.
Yeah, clearly, there's some concerns about if this can handle and take care of the issues that we're having in some of the bunkers, and it sounds
It
like
will.
it can.
Yep.
I know this was a discussion at the last budget meeting, and it was pulled out for various reasons. I don't recall exactly what that reason was, but it doesn't matter. I would, from my opinion here, and it's just I'm one person, I would say if we can pull up the cooker and the spreader, then we could vote on this right away to get this piece of equipment in so Earl can do his job properly.
Pulling the spreader, you pulling.
Not the spreader, I'm sorry, thank you for correcting me, the smoker and the beverage station enclosure. Then, I would be ready to vote on this right now, but it's up to my colleagues.
It was my idea.
Call the question.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, fine. We could do that, right? We could make that
Absolutely.
budget
That is
amendment?
correct.
Okay, we could do that budget amendment. Okay. So I guess the next area of business is any public comment as it pertains to this Sand Pro? Okay, since there's no public comment, Chrissy, can we take a roll call?
Supervisor Branson?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Siegel?
Yes.
President Camp?
Yes. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a departure, if this is not a problem, from our standard before we get into the discussion of the assessment and methodology. And Ron hasn't asked me to do this, but I know that Ron's son is here, I believe. And if we could move into his report and then allow him to leave, I think that would work out well, if nobody has an objection to that.
Of course.
Okay.
I do appreciate that. It's not needed. He's pretty quiet back there, but if you don't mind, he woke up not feeling very well, so.
Right, and
But
that's
I do
why
appreciate
I figured you might want to get home with him, so.
Thank you much.
Okay.
Okay, from a golf course report, the big item that's on our agenda right now is obviously with, as I reported last time, with Jim Kurtzborn leaving the organization, we've been doing an extensive search for a general manager replacement. We did bring one individual in that is very interested in the position. Each board member got to meet this gentleman individually and spend some time with him. I'd like to thank you for taking that time. The feedback that I received was very positive amongst everyone. With any candidate, there's always some unknowns and some concerns possibly. The feedback I did get from the board members, there were definitely some board members that would like to see some additional candidates, and which is not a problem at all to bring some other ones forward. I've already started engaging with some of them. Once I have a little more firmer details on timing so you could see, I'll send over those resumes to you so you can look through them and prepare for those meetings. So I do appreciate the time. In the meantime, the team on the ground is doing a great job. We're in the height of season. I am coming here lightly every day for at least a good part of the day to help lead the team and pick up some of the pending items that Mr. Kurtzborn had. At the present time, there's no concerns or anything to report. All of you, and also I speak with Tanya and the team frequently, so if anything does come up, you have my cell phone number. I can address anything at any moment. But we'll move swiftly through the process, but we definitely want to take our time since it's such a big leadership role here at the club. We want to make sure that whoever the candidates decided is best suited for, obviously, the board, the district, the members of the club, and then also our organization, since we're a big part of it. So,
Any board questions?
What kind of time frame are we talking? I mean, we don't want to hire the wrong guy, but by the same token, we don't want to get into the ready, aim situation. I mean, we can't live too long with a vacancy in that high position.
Yeah, my hope is to have at least one candidate come towards the tail end of next week, possibly two. Just kind of working out those details from, some locally and then some that are, a little farther away that are interested. So we're just about there.
I think it was a pretty strong candidate we met with already. A lot of experience and would be, I think, an asset.
Yeah, I do agree with that. We have some experience with the gentleman working for our organization in the past, and then moved on to another company to be in the private sector. Would like to return not only to our organization, but saw this as a great opportunity. And since from our standpoint we have some history with someone, so there's a known record, but we also got to make sure that we do have the right possible fit for this club here, because every club is different and unique. And so to kind of honor requests, we'll bring a couple other candidates in and kind of regroup. And but definitely the person that interviewed is very interested, keeping him informed of the process, and hopefully is available when we do decide to make the decision, if it goes that way or another way.
mean, I thought the guy was extremely member-focused and extremely focused on making sure that our members, our membership is valuable and adding things to it, not only from a standpoint of members, but also residents. So I was pretty impressed with that guy. So hopefully he gets some more that look good, but that guy's pretty sharp.
Okay, appreciate the feedback, for sure.
Looks like you have a question, no?
Of course I have a question. I always have questions. So, my wife used to own a restaurant,
Okay?
and I was explaining to her the complexity of the report that we have on the golf course. And she says, well, we can figure out what the profit and loss is on the restaurant. Got to be able to figure it out. We spent 2 hours looking at the report. This is the Dan's point. And we couldn't figure out what the profit was. We just couldn't make it work.
Okay.
And I don't know how we can run an organization or a restaurant business without having a true profit and loss, being able to see it. So what I'd like to see is to separate on the golf report the restaurant from the golf and report it accordingly so that we can all see what actually is happening there.
Okay, I can definitely, in our financial reporting, and I'll get with Tanya to dive a little deeper, since I'm at a little bit disadvantage of what you're exactly looking at. We do have an item.
There's a report that you guys give us, right? Yeah.
So we can get a little. I do see what the profit and loss is. Now, the only thing that's not in that is and I know Mr. Siegel has brought this up, is depreciation. That is not being reported on our end. But we do have it broken out of all food and beverage revenue comes in, what it costs to buy those items in the report, labor associated with that department. The only thing is the general manager's labor is not divided up between maintenance, golf, F&B. So just people who are dedicated to food and beverage, 100% is there. And then any expense that is coded to food and beverage. I will say that electric for the building, we code to our G&A department, which is clubhouse. So we're not taking, you can argue that 85% of the building is really food and beverage related. So we're not breaking out the electric and items like that. So could it be scrutinized? Absolutely. Yeah, and we can get to, Tanya and I can go through it, and if the board's direction.
It's a big business.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're talking about possibly spending a lot of money on it. And I think, instead of having a golf report that includes the restaurant, I think we ought to have a golf report and a restaurant report.
We can do that, absolutely.
So that we can all see it a little bit clearer.
Well, if we're kicking that can around, it would be really good if I had information quicker than I do. I mean, I'm sitting here on the 9th of March looking at the end of January. Numbers that,
yeah, so just for, not only just to be fully transparent, so the financials from the previous month, so for our February financials, by the 5th, our team has to have everything in terms of month-end closes. Our accountants have 10 days to get it back to us to reconcile the financials, and then by the 20th, it gets turned into the district, and then depending on how it falls for board meetings, I can see how the delay in time, I could definitely go back to our side if we can, try to expedite the process to move it up so many days or coordinate. So when
or just an interim number that you haven't fully signed off
sure.
on. If you're putting it in by the 5th, then
right.
Maybe we could see that.
Yeah, I mean,
it
absolutely.
just would be a lot easier for us to make decisions if we had more current information.
Sure, I can work with Tanya on that. Usually, the stuff that holds us up is bank recs, credit cards processing, and other items like that come later. But revenue, we know every day exactly what it is, and that doesn't fluctuate.
And that would help.
So that's.
I've been blaming it on Omar so far, but
the same with the
you just gave him an out.
Sure. So it's the process as you're closing out books to ensure, and then which it also allows if items were purchased on the 30th or 31st, for example, and that invoice comes in mail 7 days later, it gives us time to put it in that appropriate month, so you don't have a lot of accruals here, and then where it gets kind of...
If we knew income, that would be beneficial.
Yeah, every morning, Monday through Friday, by noon, we have everything uploaded. But that's just running a report right off our point of sale system. So that is super easy to get that ahead of time.
So you're going to work with Tony about splitting it out?
Absolutely. Yeah, that request, I can definitely, and I'll get with you, and Tanya, just to make sure we're meeting your expectation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any further questions? No. I actually would like to circle back, since the sunshine laws don't allow us to speak, and I greatly appreciate you bringing in Cliff. And I concur with what Dan said. I believe he brings some real value to the club. But as this discussion that I had in a follow-up email, excuse me, to you and Tanya, I was one of the people that requested that we look at some other candidates. Ultimately, as we've discussed in private, we've said that, this is a very important position. It's important to Sun and Lake. We want to make sure we have the right person. It's never going to be easy to get somebody that fits all of the check marks. But one of the things is he had so many strengths in some areas and so many weaknesses or areas that needed to be what I would say somewhat corrected. That was my concern, okay? And I just want to be on a full disclosure with everybody on this board, as well as anybody that's listening to this tape. And it might come around to bite me at the end, but I do have some concerns about it, so I just wanted to make mention of it. I thank you for looking at other candidates.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our goal is to have the best possible person, to lead Sun and Lake to the next levels. That's the goal. So
no, and I appreciate that. I truly appreciate it. Like I said, there are so many strong qualities with him. I guess maybe I'm just looking for perfection, the perfect person, and I don't know if that person exists out there. Okay.
It's a very good goal to have, though.
Yeah. So. Okay. Any further questions? No?
I think it's time for him to go.
I think I'd make one more comment. I don't think this is an easy place to manage. We have a lot of relatively unique individuals and a lot of relatively unique situations, and I think it's going to take somebody with a good bit of experience to be able to handle and stand up to what happens around here. I don't know if this guy can do it or not, but, I think it is going to be a delicate balance of getting the right person and getting them to come to Sebring. It's not like you're moving to New York or something. There's a certain number of people that don't want to live in a small town. There's a certain number of people that do, and finding somebody with the right qualifications that wants to be here is not going to be the most, not going to be the easiest thing that we can do.
Well, I totally agree with you. Totally agree. But, like I said, you put as many candidates as you can in front of somebody and you kind of make your best judgment. But once again, ultimately, it ends up, Casper has to put the person that they feel can run this operation because they are the ones that are accountable for it. And I appreciate just putting these candidates in front of, at least in front of me, and I'm sure the rest of the board appreciates that too.
No, and it's important to us too. I mean, this is a partnership, and we definitely, I know we're held accountable, and rightfully so. But we also, never want to come off as, hey, this is the person, and so we'll get the right person here, and whoever it may be.
Well, thank you very much. At this time, do we have any public comment? Wow, this is great. Okay, I'm going to move right back to our action agenda. Thank you very much, Ron. I appreciate
allowing
it.
that today. I appreciate it.
I hope he feels better.
Soon.
I think he's waiting for you. Okay, the next item on the action agenda is a discussion of the assessment methodology. I believe that Tanya's going to run through this for us. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
The purpose of today's discussion is to talk about the goals and objectives for the upcoming assessment study review. I put together a very basic and brief presentation on assessment methodology, but to be clear to the consultant what we want him to review is the purpose today. I put together a few examples of what our objectives could be for this methodology, and the first thing I have listed is really what our goal is, and our goal is to review and analyze the various categories of property within the district and determine the benefits received to that property match the needs of the district and are distributed proportionately. The first part of that would be to assess the vacant lot rate in relation to the residential improve rate. Another procedure that the consultants will be looking at is looking at our collection rates, which are very low on our vacants, and what our budget needs are. So that's going to be a big part of their procedures as they move along through the process. I'll start with my presentation, and I'll just briefly go into a few things here. What is an assessment? Assessment is a rate levied in a specifically defined geographical area of property owners identified as having received a direct benefit from an improvement or maintenance. Why was the assessment methodology developed? It was to recover cost of providing maintenance services from the properties that benefit from the service. What do assessments pay for? District facilities, roads, drainage, recreation facilities, security, code enforcement, mosquito, and we have many other services that we have. I'm not going to talk about those today, but we do have a published document that assists with, residents asking, what does my assessment pay for? What are the categories used to bill assessments? 3 major categories. We have lots and acreage without any paved roads or drainage or construction here in the district. The second category is lots and acreage with a paved road and drainage only. They have no construction, no building, no improvements to that lot or acreage. The third category is, of course, our lots and acreage with paved roads, drainage, and construction. So that's our 3 major categories here. If we were a fully developed community with all residential and commercial properties, then that first category would go away. But unfortunately, we're very large, and like Stephen McDonald said, and I've said before, we're very complicated. So moving on to the next slide. How are assessments calculated? In 2000-2001, Burton and Associates, they developed a code. Well, actually, it's not they developed. There are Department of Revenue property use codes that are assigned by the Highlands County property appraiser. So whether it's vacant, whether it's improved, whether it's commercial, whether it's hospital, these are state of Florida property use codes that are assigned by the property appraiser. We don't do that. So once it's assigned, then we assign what we call an improvement code based on what the example I just gave, whether or not the lot is on roads or not, or drainage. I give an example of a calculation for a commercial store lot. And this particular store has 2.5 lots that are platted lots. So what I mean by that is you have strap numbers throughout the district that assign an ownership for all the lots out there. It's a strap number, so it's an identifying number. Within that strap, there's always an owner assigned to that strap. Within the strap, there could be multiple platted lots, and those lots were platted back in the 70s, or even earlier. I'm not real sure. We think it's in the 70s, early 70s, maybe 71, 1970. So we're not playing a guessing game here. Everything is given to us from the property appraiser. Ownership, strap number, platted lots. We could have a strap that might have 10 lots platted within it. Tanglewood is an exception. Tanglewood has 2 strap numbers, and those are only 2 platted lots because they have vacated the plat. As an owner, you do have the right to do that, because as an original developer, you come in and you create all these lots, but you do have the right to vacate a plat. So I just want to tell you, there's no guessing game. We have all that information provided to us to bill an assessment. Sorry to get into length, but that's kind of how the land use works. Any questions?
I'm sure we do.
Okay, yes.
Tanya, when are we supposed to have this completed?
The timeline that I have put together is by April or May, we're going to be working with the consultant to provide them information, but I hope by sometime in May that we're ready to sit down with the supervisors and provide them their conclusions.
Okay.
So that's fairly quick turnaround.
I know you have one, right? Go ahead. No?
No.
I know that at our last meeting, we talked about having a workshop, and I was kind of the one that said, rather than go through a full workshop, to just first go through this overview that you've just done, rather than, like I said, advertise for a special meeting. So I'm thinking this is working out well. However, I do have a couple questions, and I guess I misinterpreted. The Burton Associates was 2001. We haven't had a increase in 9 years, though, or 8.5 years on our assessments, but it's still predicated on the 2001 study and all of those formulas, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, you did mention that, and I think maybe I misunderstood, that the assessments are determined by lots and the way they're platted and the number of lots on a plat, with the exception of Tanglewood. I think that's what you said.
Well, they're still billed. They're billed on an acreage basis because they don't have multiple lots within their. I'd say it's 250 acres, I believe. So they're billed per acre. So we do have a rate in our assessment methodology for acreage.
Mm-hmm. Now, when Stephen was here and presented a little bit about different types of methodologies, he talked about, of course, what you get for the benefit that you receive from your assessments, and that's part of the criteria, just a piece of it, but that's part of the criteria. So it's very possible that you could have benefit from the community, and at the same time you could have a number of lots, so you would be assessed, one person would be assessed for those 4 lots on that platted area. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So in a case of a commercial property, they would also be assessed multiple times for that platted lot.
In the example I gave, it was a store. So within that strap number, they had 2.5 lots, and those 2.5 lots are within the legal description of the property. So yes, that is an example of a commercial property that has 2.5 lots.
Okay. And where I'm going with this, and I asked Omar to provide me the other day many of the commercial properties, i.e. the hospitals, the nursing homes, and so on. And I was doing a little bit of research on both the Highlands County property appraiser as far as the taxes that they pay to the county as well as the assessments that they pay to us. Now, I don't know what the rest of my colleagues are thinking in terms of this assessment, but I kind of broke it down as commercial property, residential property, improved and unimproved lots in my simple terms there. But it's sounding like that's not necessarily the way this methodology works today. And unimproved lots, I think a lot of people have said, unimproved lots, why are they paying what they're paying? It's somewhat disproportionate. And possibly that's one of the reasons they stopped paying their assessments. So I thought that we would be looking at the benefit of an unimproved lot, or GAI would be looking at the benefits in an unimproved lot, and they might say, well, currently you're at $294, $95, but the value and the benefit you get out of it, it's really only worth X dollars, let's say $150 in assessments. Is that not the direction that they're going to be going, or?
That's exactly the direction.
Okay, so that's the direction they'll be going. Now, we have a methodology today that says residential properties, homes, for an example, pay roughly just under $700. They're going to probably receive more benefit, if you look at the methodology, than the unimproved lots. Does that mean that residential properties could go up that 14-15% that happened in the past?
I don't know, but, I mean, there's always a possibility, but the improved residential lots currently pay more than the vacant lots.
Okay.
So there is more benefit to improved residential property versus vacant, yes.
And they will-
That is definitely the conclusion, but whether or not, I can't speak to whether or not what's going to go up or down.
Okay. So they will be looking strongly at the
Yes.
commercial properties in Tanglewood and so on to see the benefit there as well.
Correct.
Okay, so it's 100%. Now, I know that we will probably want to get this done because of the budgeting process coming up this summer. But there's always that possibility that we do not approve a new methodology, that we could just increase percentage-wise across the board as you proposed in the past budgets. We could do
You
that.
can do
Is
that,
true.
yes, you can,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Public comment?
Forrest Bowling, over here on Edgewater Drive. My question is, regarding the Tanglewood, you said that the property is assessed based on an acreage rate, and does that acreage rate include a per unit situation there? Because when you look at a place that's got, say, 400 units in there, and if they're only paying on an acreage rate, is that significantly better off to them than a normal resident who has a lot here?
It is not based on a per unit, no. Tanglewood is a gated community, and they maintain and repair all their roads and all their drainage. So the community is structured a little bit differently than the rest of the district.
Any further public comment? Oh, this is going great. Okay, next item, add-on items,
None?
petitions and communications.
Yes. We have two. Yes, we have two communications, one to the board from Dale Domage on Edgewater Drive, and the other from Mr. Jim Travis.
Okay. Is Dale DeMarge here? Dale, would you like to come up and address the board?
Dale Domage from Edgewater Drive. I've been a resident here for about 6 years, a Snowbird resident. And I just found out a short time ago that a dog park has been approved and is going to be built directly across the street from me, blocking my beautiful view of the park and the lake. So, discussing with all the residents in Fairway Villas, we have 18 owners, none of us were approached or informed that this dog park would be built. Our building, our three buildings, are pet-free buildings, and we think that putting a dog park in front of our building is actually going to decrease the property values of our units. So, further to that, I conducted a survey up and down the street. I spoke to residents of every building on Edgewater Drive. None of them were informed of this dog park. None of them wanted this dog park. So we have a petition here signed by several people on Edgewater requesting that you take another look at this and also for future things like this, that people are informed of construction of something that might affect their property values. So, Forrest, you...
Yeah, basically, we had 37 signatures on the petition. I basically sent emails to some of our non-resident owners that basically use theirs strictly for rental units, asking for their permission to sign the petition for them, which I've received that from those also, so I've got the attached emails authorizing my signing their names. Again, I said we're really concerned about the noise associated with the dog park, and we're concerned about issues of dogs running free, in and out of there. What happens if they come across the street on the properties that are animal restricted? So who's going to enforce those issues? We're concerned about odor, proper hygiene for the animals, from owners. We see people around the area all the time, basically walking dogs with no cleanup availability. The parking is still an ongoing issue because we're very concerned that people are going to come down here to park, or go down to the cart barn and park, and walk back with their dog to let them run loose in the park. Again, we had talked about our restrictions already, and again, I think we've got people that are already talking about the fact that, if they had known that there was going to be a dog park, they probably wouldn't buy there. So, is that going to do things to reduce the value of our properties down the road for us to be able to resell or at least break even? So, again, I want to present this to the board. I don't know if I give it to you or the secretary or whoever.
You would give it to the secretary.
Okay.
Just a few comments, and I truly appreciate your concerns. I, too, was a snowbird for 7 or 8 years. One of the things is we did have, just as a little bit of information, we had multiple meetings on this. This didn't just happen overnight. And one of the things is, when I was a snowbird, and it's only been the last 2.5, 3 years that I was down here permanently, I did in fact listen to the board meetings every month. They had 2 board meetings, and I would listen to the audio on them. And when something came up, and I was concerned about it, I would get on the phone, or I would send an email and voice my opinion. And I'm not saying you didn't listen to the audios, but had you listened to them or read even the minutes, you would have been aware that we did have, in fact, multiple meetings on this, because we would never, I'm speaking for myself, but I don't believe this board or this community would ever go and put something in without at least informing the residents. So I believe, in some manner or fashion, we didn't go to your house and knock on your door, but we don't do that when we're doing other parts or other projects in this community. We don't go and knock on the doors and say we're building a $1.7 million maintenance facility. We have it at the board meeting. But I do understand what you're saying. As far as blocking your view, I'm not quite sure the chain link fence will block your view, but that's neither here nor there either. I mean, you have a genuine concern.
It just seems to me, though, that if you've got so many people on the street that are already concerned about it and feel like they really didn't get any true notice, is there any concern of the board of alienating those people that are already residents?
Well, yeah, so. And you're right. And I mean, there was also people that came forward that wanted it, and petitions that said they wanted it. I mean, it works both ways. I'm not. All we do is we look at what the community has asked, and we provided that. We've looked at other areas. Mike was involved in looking at other areas. We looked at safety as well, because we know that there's people that are going to be walking the dogs. We want to make sure that it's not in the dark, that they have safety. The other side of the coin is if for some reason this doesn't work out, just let's say hypothetically, if we put it there and it didn't work out, it's not real difficult to take down, a chain link fence. But we'll accept your petition, and we can talk amongst the board. We can talk now if you want. I don't, you tell me where you want to go with the board.
Oh, thank you for letting me.
No, and I appreciate you coming forward. Please, could you just, thank you very much. By all means, public comment is welcome.
Agnes Snowball, and I live in Edgewater Drive too, and I've already voiced my opinion on this dog park situation. Whereas you are telling us that you communicate, or we should go into your minutes and check them out every time you have a meeting. You also have a flyer that comes out with our water bills every month called the Communicator. Now, should this not have been in the Communicator, because that is a communication surely, and also it's sent out to every resident when they pay their bills, so that they're supposed to be aware of anything that is going to happen. And the other thing is, how would you feel if you looked out every morning and saw dogs in front of you? You wouldn't like that. You wouldn't like it, neither would you. Now, we don't want that. There are plenty of other areas that do not have residents opposite where they're going to be. Was enough consideration taken into the alternative areas? I don't think it was.
Well, thank you.
I didn't understand what you said.
Yeah. Any other further comment?
Yeah, George Puffenberger, resident. I wholly concur with what these folks said, but on the other side of the coin, I have 2 dogs, and I've been to dog parks all over the county. I questioned in the first place when we talked about a dog park's location, why did we ultimately end up where we are? And as I said, I'm 100% for a dog park, but I think the location could be in a far better spot, a less noticeable spot than dead in the center of the district. And the example, if you have a friend driving through the district and trying to sell them on the district, and you drive through at a time when there's several dogs in the park, they're looking at the lake, which is gorgeous, and all the surroundings, which is, it's a beautiful area. I think they're going to wonder why they'd have a dog park there, even if you're a dog lover. And I'm a dog lover. I had dogs all my life. So my support is 100% for the dog park. But I really think you should take another look at an alternate site. If you go further north, down towards the old golf cart sheds, there's wide open spaces that is not directly across the street from Edgewater, but it's close. And the reason that was ruled out was it might interfere with the golfers. So you see, you're catering to one, but you're not catering to the other folks. And so you got to look at this thing from both sides. I will tell you, if you get a lot of dogs in the park, you're going to hear them on number 18T. It's just a fact of life. So why I support the park, and I still support it, I just think maybe we should re-look and see if there's got to be some place in this district with all this land where a dog park would be less obtrusive. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've heard all of you, and we empathize somewhat. I personally have gone to Mike Hurley and Tanya and suggested that we hold off on the construction, and we've talked about some alternative locations. I'm not sure there's a rush to build this thing right now with the snowbirds all getting ready to go home in the next 5 or 6 weeks. So I just want you to know that there is a movement towards at least considering alternatives, which I think you people are entitled to. So.
Have we let the contract, and are we obligated to go forth at this point in time?
Based on the resolution for the fence, I believe, yes, unless the board changes that.
Has the contract been signed, is what I'm asking.
I have not signed a contract.
With Booker?
No, I have not.
So no contract has been signed with Booker. There's no obligation, David, on our part to...
The contract hasn't been signed. We're good.
I don't want to get too far out of line here, but I think there is something that needs to be clarified, that's not a park. If I'm not mistaken, that's certified as R3, so we could sell it for condominiums, and that would obviously be the highest and best use. Now, I'm not saying we should do that, but I'm saying you might be happy to have a dog park there if things go further down the road 20 years from now.
I've been coming to Sun Lake since 2004. I've been a resident here for 11 years. When we bought our property here, we looked into anything that would be, at that time there was a consideration for condominiums being brought forward, and as far as I was aware that was cancelled because that all the area in front of the lake and down was all for recreational use, such as Easter egg hunts, trick-or-treating, anything else like that. As far as I know, that's what that was assigned to. And the other reason, one of the other reasons we were given that a dog park was going to be there was because it was recreational. How you can see that, I don't know, but that's another situation. But the other thing about the petitions as well, I have seen the original petition for the dog park, and there was not one address on it, not one. It was all names. Now, that could be anybody. You could write anything down there, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want. There was only names. There was no addresses. On our petition here, it's all residents and all residents of Edgewater Drive, because we are the people that will be affected by this dog park. Thank you.
For what my colleague here said, we are examining it. We've taken the petition into consideration. We will look at alternatives, see what we can come up with. It's not a signed contract right now, so we have that luxury of being able to look further, and we certainly will do that. I will agree with what Dan said, that and I think the town, you could even give me this information, I think that is zoned for, they could build condos there. Okay, I believe they could.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, you know, you could have two-story condos. That would definitely block your view, but, you know, that would be way in the future.
Supervisors, just based on what I'm hearing, technically the resolution does authorize Tane to sign the contract. I think it's pretty obvious from what we've discussed today that that's not something that you want to have happen. Do we want to take formal action to cancel that? Or do you just want to, is the direction of the board to, you know, hold off on signing any contracts until we've performed further review?
I would, me personally, I'll poll, you know, we can poll, I would probably look to see if there are alternative locations. That would be my thought process, but I don't know.
Then we need to probably have...
Or them might say no.
But then I say that's the easiest way to determine it is we need a motion to either cancel the resolution or to move forward with the resolution, because it's currently an active resolution and Tanya's...
We can't just hold on to it? We have to go one way or the other?
Well, I mean,
we may end up going back here.
We've already gone one way. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. The resolution authorizes Tanya to sign the contract and move forward with the, you know, with the dog park, as there's an exhibit attached to it.
Is that location specific?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, then I think it needs to be canceled, because obviously, if we do something different, it won't be there.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying is we need a motion to, I guess, a motion to cancel or a motion to rescind that.
Yeah, but this is March, and this is not even going to be built till May. I mean, I want to look at the alternative that I saw, but I want to see cost, and I want to, but I don't want to cancel this thing after it's taken us this long to get this far. But I certainly...
Well, then we don't, I mean, you can necessarily don't have to cancel it. You can just say we're going to...
well, we're saying that now, Dave.
Leave it, I guess the question is she's currently authorized to execute the contract without bringing it back to the board. And so you could remove that, say, you know, we will motion to direct Tanya not to sign any contracts unless they're brought back before the board for the dog park. We can
I'm fine with that. I mean, I was only... The only reason I mentioned cancellation was I inferred, maybe wrongly, that that's what we needed to do. But if we can just simply amend it to say it has to come back to the board before it's signed, I'm fine with that.
Okay, then that's the motion that we need.
I don't think Tanya's going to sign anything unless we tell her to anyway.
Yeah, even though it's,
So I'll put that in the form of a motion if you prefer.
Good.
A motion to direct Tanya to bring before any contracts are signed, to bring them back before the board.
Yes, sir.
On the dog park.
Yes, sir.
Need a second.
Second.
second,
Chrissy?
Supervisor Gilpin,
yes.
Supervisor Siegel,
No.
Supervisor Branson,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Camp.
No.
So before any contracts are signed regarding the dog park, they'll be brought back before the board.
Correct.
Can I just say something to the people from Edgewater? Y'all gonna follow this on your own now? We're telling you what's going on. It's now your responsibility to be aware of what's going on. All right.
And I wanted to just say one thing. I saw a letter from, I think, the gentleman that's back there that talked about wanting us to ask Henry Delosier. I mean, I hope this doesn't go this far that we have to talk to Henry about dog parks. And I know Henry would look at that property and be very interested in condominiums across that lake, because that's his business. So, but with the but with the amount of money we were going to spend there, I would have had no problem to remove it if it was a problem. But there's, it just, you got to watch what you wish for, and I hope that in our conversations here, we don't have Henry get involved in our dog park. But hopefully this will help, and we're taking another look at it. But don't think we're picking on you because you left. I've been out working on this dog park for 2 years, and I can't help it you didn't hear about it. So I just want the people that want it to have a dog park. That's all I...
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Could you come up to the podium, please? Thank you.
Forrest Bowling again. Yeah, I mean, we have no problem with the dog park. Our issue has always been the concern of having the animals, the amount of noise, odors related with it, the parking issues. I don't think we're fully analyzed, and we just think there's probably other sites available that would be more conducive to having dogs at, instead of just a place that you got to walk your dog to get to the dog park.
And I believe that that's what we had just basically agreed on. We're holding, Tanya won't be signing off on any contract to build it immediately there. I believe the unfortunate side of this is because of sunshine laws, we have to actually meet again if we find another location to discuss this and go through that whole process again. But, if it's right for you guys, that's fine. We'll work. But we just need to find a location. We were unsuccessful in the past, but we'll have to look.
And we can meet with the board members individually if we come up with that conclusion. So.
Correct. Okay, I don't see Mr. Travis here, so, for the second correspondence, so I'll move on to staff reports.
Good morning, Supervisors. Omar DeJesus, Finance Director. I just want to give you two quick reports. The first one is you guys obviously received the January Treasury Report and golf financials. I didn't get any feedback on those two, so they must be error-free and perfect.
Yeah, right.
The only thing I can think of, I did want to mention that you are receiving January, and like Dan mentioned, there is some time delay on some certain aspects. From an investment standpoint, we have opened 4 new CDs. We had 2 that renewed for $1.5 million. We've taken that 1.5, created 2 new CDs at $750, and turned them out, and then took $800,000 from the general fund and opened 2 more. So we've created 4 CDs in total now. One's a 3-month at 1.54%. We've created a 9-month at 1.78%. 18-month at 2%, and then a 24-month at 2.10. So we try to stagger them out so we can continue to review and take advantage of the market conditions and reassess them. One thing that I wanted to bring up for the board to discuss, or just an idea, is I mentioned to Tanya that we would like to create some sort of investment committee. And we haven't decided what that committee is going to be composed of, but I would like one supervisor to be a part of that, myself to be a part, and possibly one or two employees of the district. It's kind of going to be a twofold committee. I know Ray's in charge of marketing and Joe's in charge of the kitchen, so each one of you kind of picked the committee or project. I think Dan still needs one, maybe Mark. So maybe if one of you want to volunteer for that committee,
I volunteered, Dan.
I second that.
We'll come back at another day and figure out what the structure will be, but it'll be reviewing any CDs that we have coming forth, if we want to move any money into different pools, and we'll give you guys the rates so we can make a decision. We'll come back with a committee recommendation of what we decided to move forward with. But we'll also be reviewing our 401A 457 retirement plan. Our retirement plan was implemented in 2004, and I think it was last reviewed in 2014. We've been making some strides to have ICMA, our current plan sponsor, make some changes that I think are necessary. We've reached some resistance, so we've reached out to a consultant for a minimal fee. It's somewhere around $2,500. We're going to review and benchmark all of our plan assets and our sponsor lineup to other vendors, decide if we still want to stay with ICMA or make any changes at that point. And then going forward on a quarterly basis, we'll review all the funds, all the lineups to see if they're performing in accordance with our expectations. So we don't want our employees who may not be as knowledgeable in investments to leave money in a fund that isn't performing to a certain degree of standard. It's our responsibility as a plan sponsor to make sure that we're giving them the adequate means to have a good retirement. So, this will be something that we're going to implement new, and I think it needs to be implemented from a fiduciary standpoint.
Agreed.
Omar, so you don't meet with ICMA on a regular annual basis?
Well, currently what's happening is they'll send me a quarterly statement, and I'll go through and I'll look at it, but it's very difficult for me to have the time by myself to look at, our lineup is 55 funds. So for me to go to Morningstar every day and look at the 55 and, assess whether that's meeting expectations or not, it's going to be a lot subjective to me personally. I'd rather have a committee of 4 give an opinion and then come to a conclusion versus me being solely responsible for that decision. So if I decide to drop a fund, it isn't just Omar making that decision. There's an employee from the district, there's Omar, there's a supervisor. It's going to be more of a cohesive process.
I agree. Makes sense. Yeah.
So I'd like to see, one of the things is too, when you're dealing with frontline employees and roads and grounds crews, is they don't have an understanding of what, the Nike stock is doing or what Google's doing. They just don't know. And when we put 55 different options in front of them, they pick one and they never look at it again. So they could still have money in the account that they're never reviewing. It's our responsibility to kind of do some on the backside to make sure that it hasn't been tanking for the last 4 quarters and we haven't done anything about it.
Okay. Thank you.
The second report, I provided a spreadsheet that shows all of our outstanding insurance claims. Some of these are related to FEMA and some are not. The ones in highlighted red are awaiting denials from insurance in order for us to proceed with FEMA. So tree debris, Arvita Road's finally complete at 100%. So you see the status shows you whether it's 100% or still pending. We have a couple items still pending, which is the roofs. We're still waiting on getting quotes from that. The fences, I believe we just procured the last fence quote today. And the pavilion behind the district and the potholes at Unit 23. So there's a few pending. So we've submitted a total of $400,000 to insurance for insurance claims. We only expect insurance to pick up about 125 of that. The remainder will go to FEMA for reimbursement. There's one additional claim that's not related to the hurricane. It was for the Turtle Pump Station that went down. We spent about $72,000, and we expect insurance to come back and cover the cost on that. That will not be a FEMA-related incident at all.
Okay.
So,
I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
So on this Turtle Run Pump Station, I'm confused again. Awaiting to be claimed to be paid, recently denied by travelers.
Okay, so what happened with that, PRM is our insurance carrier. We submitted a claim to PRM. They sent it to Travelers, who's their excess carrier. Travelers looked at the claim and has denied the claim. Yeah. They are claiming that the incident was an occurrence of the hurricane. So now it's going back to PRM for them to assess it under the hurricane damage and give us a deductible for hurricane. So the deductible will be a little bit higher if they categorize it as a hurricane-related casualty.
And if they don't, it goes to
They're going to
FEMA?
pay one way or the other. We're still fighting that it was not hurricane-related. This took place almost a week after the hurricane when the power came back online. The surge hit that panel and caused it to fry. They're saying if the hurricane would have never taken place, which caused the power to go out, so they're going back and forth, and it's just going between different carriers on the insurance.
If they decline it, does it go to FEMA then? Or
Well, it's going back to a different carrier inside the insurance pool.
So if they decline it,
No
we're
FEMA.
we're out.
We're not expecting it to be denied fully. It was denied by this excess carrier.
Are you going on record?
I'm not. I will keep you updated as we continue to get more.
All right, the other question I have is on these, the 5 bottom things, pending quotes per district procurement. What does that mean?
So what happened on that is, the snack shack got damaged, the cart barns. What we went out and did is we got quotes for aluminum roofs. The insurance came back and said these are unacceptable. We want replacement value. So we have to go back out, get quotes on exactly what's there, whether it's 3M, shingles. So it has to be apples to apples to what was there. Once we get that number, we'll submit the claim, and then the district's going to come back and give the board the option to either go back with shingle or pay the difference through a budget amendment to go with aluminum. So we're preparing the specs now for bid, so the vendors can price it both ways, shingle and aluminum.
So this,
What we want to do, Ray,
this is
what
the
we want to do is we want to match all the roofs in Sun Lake. So that's why we went back out for more quotes.
Yeah.
Okay, because right now they're asphalt, okay? But we want to go back and have them all metal and have everything look the same, like the clubhouse, the district office.
Yeah.
We're trying to match everything, and basically it's one and done once we do metal anyways.
All right, but run me through you're going to get a new quote based on what we originally had, and that's going to go to who? Our insurance company?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then if whatever they do, does it go back to FEMA for something else, or?
So we have filed it with FEMA. I expect them to cover the majority of the cost. So let's say the snack shack is $7,000. Most likely insurance is going to come back and give us $5,000. We can take the time and go and try and fight FEMA for the $2,000, but before that happens, we'll keep going through the process, but we're going to go ahead and get them fixed. We're going to go ahead and get them fixed. The $2,000 that's lingering for FEMA will come down the road after we've already completed the project.
Okay, and then the last question, this is the big one now.
Go ahead.
Is this in the 5-year plan or any kind of budget? This is what you told us was $50,000, correct?
Yeah, it's about 40.
I remember that number.
45,000.
Huh?
For the snack shack?
No, for all of them.
Oh.
It was 50,000, right?
So this is not in the capital. So you're going to have to make the decision. We can go ahead and replace it back to shingle, and we won't be out of pocket very much, just the deductibles. If you want to go to aluminum and fix all the other cart barns and all the buildings that are surrounding, there will be an additional expense that was not budgeted, for which we will need a budget amendment.
Well, if you think it's the right way to go, why don't you put it in the...
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to submit it to bid. We're going to give you guys the option to do what you think is best. We're going to give you all the numbers to say, here's all the buildings, here's going to aluminum, here's going to shingle, here's just doing what insurance covered, and then you guys can decide which one you want to do.
What I'm trying to say is when we sit down to do the capital, that should be on a piece
But we're
of
going to
paper
take care
in
of
front
that
of
this.
us.
That won't come in next year's capital. We're going to try and get it done this year.
Oh, you want to do it, you want to do it this year?
We're going to do a budget amendment this year.
Trying to do it as a budget amendment.
It's 6 or 7 months late now.
You're right, Michael, it is. It's 6 or 7 months now. What we want to do, Ray, we want to do it the best way that we can do it for the district, so it's a one and done, and it all matches up. So that's where we are with this. That's why it's taken so
So
long.
you're going to ask us for $50,000?
No, 45.
What will be the difference between the insurance?
I don't know. I don't know, what the insurance is going to give us, or FEMA.
I mean, it's the same
but we
thing-
are going to ask for the difference, yes.
I just want to tell you, it's the same thing that I was talking about with Ron. Money doesn't grow on trees, as my mother used to tell me.
Right, and we can go back to shingle. That's the board's decision,
Okay.
whether you want to continue with shingle and just do what insurance covers, or do you want to make the aesthetics of the entire community change and spend the additional money? And maybe you can cut another project
I'm not
out.
ready to, I got to see the numbers.
If you're going through this exercise of getting quotes, I'm hoping that you would get the snack shack as a singular quote,
Correct.
and then, so that we could look at this as a à la carte type of an...
It's going to be one big RFP for all the
Okay.
buildings.
You know?
À la
À la carte versus banquet, yeah. So that at least, I mean, because the snack shack certainly is exposed, I mean, that's in very plain view in comparison with the district and whatnot. So, I mean, certainly I would like to see that the same, but I'm not sure about cart bonds. We were ready to tear them down not too long ago.
And for those of you that are new, we spent about, what, 60 or 70,000 extra dollars to do the district office, to make it look good. So we're on a mission here, Ray.
We want to
But-
all look alike.
But the roofs will last. I kind of had a problem with it because it's a lot of extra money, but I don't think we'll have to replace the roof there anymore. So.
For a maintenance standpoint, and for the, I think it's what, 4 years? Yeah. Right, they're guaranteed 35 years.
The metal?
Obviously, most of us aren't going to hear after 35 years, but, you know.
I don't think we're going to be here.
Okay. Any further staff report?
What we're trying to do is do it the best, job that
we
we
know,
can
Michael.
do for the
Yeah.
district, just so you know that.
When is this going to be done? The hurricane was in September. We're not in a hurry here.
That's what Michael just said, it's 9 months.
So we are putting the bid specs together. We
Right now.
expect to put them out hopefully by the end of the March, so we can bring it back at one of the April meetings with what the roof prices will be, and hopefully by then we'll have...
I mean, when are you going to turn it into the insurance company? I'm more worried about getting the money
Mike's
from
got
them.
these, we're going to get that settled by the end of today. He said he's got them on my desk, but I just need to review them.
Okay.
Okay. You happy? All right. Any additional staff reports? General counsel report.
Not a lot to report. There's been, interestingly, some pushback on some of the foreclosures that we've been doing. They're not the typical stuff. I got a motion to dismiss one of our foreclosure complaints, and when I follow a response to it, I got a 15-page document back on, trying to cite why, I was wrong. That's going to get set for hearing, obviously, and we'll see where that goes. But it was just kind of interesting, some of the pushback that we're getting on our foreclosure actions, because there's really no defense to our foreclosures. Ayala is back in circuit court. I just checked the docket this morning, and I was surprised to see that our answer has not been filed yet. I know it was presented to me by Roper and Roper, and Thompson, Sizemore, and Gonzalez, I think, is the one that's actually, the two of them are kind of working together. We have a significant number of affirmative defenses in the response that is going to be filed, and I'll find out today when that response is actually going to hit the court's docket. But like I said, we're back in circuit court, and we should be moving forward here quickly.
Thank you. Unfinished business.
None?
New business.
Well, I'm going to do my report real quick before we move
Sorry,
on.
Tanya, I
That's
didn't mean to
okay.
leave you out.
That's okay. Just a quick update on projects. On Wednesday, we received 2 bids for the sheds that are next to the tennis courts. Highest bidder was $2,550 for each shed, so that's $5,100. Payment is due from that company.
Go ahead.
Oh, payment's due today, and they have 14 days to remove the sheds, so they're completely responsible for that.
So the sheds are where we had you're referring to the units that were...
Used for the maintenance staff, yes.
And what was the minimum bid on that?
Yeah,
Because I thought we were putting a minimum bid.
I thought so too, and I thought it was $8,000.
What? No, 8,000? No. No, it was a 3,000 bid. This is what they come in. They come in at 24.
$2,550 each for a total of
I tell you,
$5,100.
So why did...
I don't think I ever want to hear again that we're going to get half our money back again, unless somebody's going to back it.
Well, the company that we bought the sheds from, my understanding is they're out of business. So we, that promise, I mean, right, was originally...
They thought that they could sell them for us. They can't. liquidate quickly, so we put up the bid, and,
From-
we're still gonna get 5,000. Now, it's also gonna cost them $2,000 to move them.
Oh, yeah. That's part of,
I understand. Listen, I can't.
you know, I mean, when I moved from my house, I mean, I paid the mover, you know?
How much do we get for the, were we getting rid of equipment too, or? No, that was just the
The
shed?
trailer, the
Huh?
trailer's going to auction Saturday.
Oh, that's
There's a
Saturday.
trailer that, how old is that trailer? 30 years old?
35 years old. But
What are we
that's
gonna
going
get
on
out of it?
With the equipment is going all Saturday, the Insight.
Okay, so once the trailer and the shed's gone, we're done, right? We're all caught up?
Then we gotta pave the area.
I'm sorry?
Then we have to pave it.
Pave it.
Well, that's a conversation we'll talk about that.
Didn't we budget around $60,000 for that?
75, I think 75,000.
75,000. What's a mere 15?
Mike, if the trailer doesn't sell, do we pay somebody some money to get rid of it? I hope.
We would have to, right.
But let's plan ahead. If nobody buys it, have
The
them.
auctioneers have 3 or 4 people that did come look at it, so,
Okay.
you know, even if, I don't know what we're getting for it, so.
Give it away and just have them come get it,
Okay.
okay?
All right. Hold on, you can have it.
The trailer's not being moved, okay? So the bidders, if anybody's interested in looking at it, have to come here, and then they submit their bid at the auction site on Saturday. So the trailer's going to sit here until,
Right, and the reason why we didn't take it there, because it was like $800 to put new tires on it and move it. So we figured, okay, we'll save $800.
Is there any stipulations at this auction that say, you know, if you buy it, can we give them a week to get rid of it? Because I'm afraid somebody's going to buy it and it's going to be there 6 more months.
No, we gave them 2 weeks to move it.
Okay.
You know, because they actually did call the other day and asked how long they had to move it.
Okay.
the district will be re-advertising the bid for the water plant electrical upgrades. Our project manager, Jim Orth, is hopeful that we're going to have 2 bidders on this project. So it should be coming back to the board for approval, probably the last meeting in April. So we're going to be re-advertising for bid. That's the project where we had to terminate the contractor. We're also going to be advertising a bid for residential culvert cleaning in Unit 2. There's approximately 165 culverts to be cleaned in Unit 2, including the road cross drains. The streets include Santiago, Capri, Tangier, Castile, Romero, Delgado, Palazzo, and Florida. So just to give you perspective, we have 560 residential culverts in the district. Okay, that's throughout the entire district. 350 of them we've determined to need be cleaning. So with this project in Unit 2 and then the culverts we did in Unit 5, we've already tackled 60% of the culverts. So it gives you perspective of where we are with the project. So I'll let the board know when that's going to be advertised and awarded. We've received consent to move forward with the Pebble Beach Road connection from one of the primary lot owners. All the letters were not sent at once because we were wanting to be sure that the property owner that requested the project was on board and was in agreement with the project scope. We've sent out the letters here this week to the other property owners, so I'll keep you updated on that project. I'd like to show you a couple pictures real quick of the project that KDL is currently working on, the drainage project. The pictures that we have here is the corner, it's on Balboa, but it's the corner of Columbus and Balboa. So the first picture is where we started with the actual pothole. It's in the top left-hand corner. That culvert has been in need of repair for quite some time. And then you can see them pulling it up there. We've replaced the piping. I'd like to, if you can zoom in on the piping down on the left. Okay, there's the start of the project. There's them digging. But the piping that came out of that road, there it is right there, completely rusted. And so now we have brand-new concrete culverts there. And then moving on to the next project, they've already started on, what street are they on? Matanzas?
Yeah.
Behind there. So there's a picture of the back lot line. And the pipe has not been installed. I think they're going to dig all the way down and then install the pipe. Is that correct? Okay. So I just wanted to show you a few pictures of that.
Okay.
And let's see. Today, the district is attending a vendor open house at the Burt Harris Agriculture Center from 1 to 3. This is a first-time event that's sponsored by Highlands County. They were the coordinator of this, so we'll kind of see there's a lot of governments that are going to be participating today, so we hope there's a good turnout. And finally, I wanted to mention that today is Tennille Dury-Smith's last day at the district, and she's been a dedicated employee for the last 5 years, and she will certainly be missed. So, thank you.
Board comments?
Tanya, could you, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask you, but what's, the Granada has a lot of clearing going on. Can you give us the information on what's going on there?
Sure. You want to expand on that? The back lot line?
The work that they're doing on Granada, sorry.
Not in the drainage.
Not in the drainage?
It's clearing the lots. There's quite a few lots over there. And I
There's
don't
some
know if
building,
that's
there's some building being done there.
Gustavo Cabanas?
Yeah. He's been clearing the lots. He's going to build a couple homes over there. So it's in that area right
Is it homes or duplexes, or do you know?
I don't know what he's building. I only go there when he needs me.
Because we get a lot of questions of what's going,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a duplex. We can find out. I mean, that's no problem.
You can go to the Highlands County website and see the permits for that.
He builds duplexes usually, so
Okay.
I mean, oh,
You might address Hornet.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, Hornet.
You might address Hornet's place as well.
On Sunrise, Ray Hornick is building a duplex right now. He's going to build his first duplex, hopefully sell it, and then add 2 more if the sales go well. We met with Ray, and he's been, Ray's real good to work with.
There was a whole lot of discussion about where he cleared to and whether or not he took down district trees. You might address that as well. Get it on the record.
Well, a lot of the trees that were in there and trash were dumped through the years. What Ray cleaned up was part on his land and part on ours, but it needed to be cleaned because it was just brush piles. And I think he took down 3, 4, 5 trees. I don't know what he took. We will be taking down some more trees for the drainage, but we'll wait till he gets, and it's on our property.
Well, there's 3 of those, 3 going up. I see where one is. I see where there's...
That's the middle one.
That's the middle one? So
Yeah.
he's going to go to the left of that with another
Yeah.
one? So there's more trees? He's going to clear all the trees to
That's his,
Sun Lake, right?
Right. No, that's his property where he's going.
I understand, but he's going to end up taking down all the trees between to Sun Lake Boulevard, right?
Oh, well, it's his property.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, is that where the other one's going?
Yes.
So he's going to have...
He's putting the middle one in now.
He's putting the middle one in first, right?
Yes.
So he's got more trees, a lot more trees.
There's lots on each side.
But he is cleaning it up, so.
But I think he has cleared as far as he could toward Edgewater. Isn't that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So the only other trees now that will come out are towards Sun and Lake Boulevard.
Yeah.
You brought up you made a statement, so I know we have responsibility for clearing some of that area for drainage.
Right. And right now Drew's in the process of drawing all that up.
Okay.
For drainage.
Well, maybe Drew can answer the question. Depending where, and I haven't, I've seen some of the drawings, but I haven't seen where you might be clearing the culvert. I saw a preliminary for the drainage. Does that mean that you will be clearing trees more towards the back of his properties as well? Or will you leave a line of trees potentially between his property and where the drainage is going?
There's going to be approximately a 30-foot swath behind his properties of where the drainage is going to be going in that we're going to have to clear to construct the swale. We're going to leave as many trees as we can there, but a lot of them are pine trees, and if you get too close with them with excavation or anything, it's very rare that a pine tree will live if you nick their roots. So that's just something we got to keep in mind.
So one should suspect that's going to get cleared and it's going to be more open by taking down additional trees, which would be behind his existing property line, so it's going to open up that area considerably.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the reason I wanted to address it here, just so we short-stop all the discussion about did Hornet take down trees he shouldn't have or whatever. I mean, I don't know if y'all have heard it, but I sure have.
Mike, I got a question around drainage. Are we pretty much going to be through all of those projects by the rainy season, May, whatever it is?
Yes, they're actually moving really quick there. I think they started 2 weeks ago. They finished one project already. The contractor's been doing very well. So yes, I do. I think they will be.
How about the stuff your people are doing?
But John,
how about the stuff your people are doing? Aren't you doing some of these projects with your own folks?
We on Unit 2, we are putting that all out to bid, but we're also working with them. Yes.
Okay.
You know, anything that we do, we usually work with the.
Well, I thought you were doing some in-house projects.
No.
Around drainage. Okay, none. Okay, that's fine.
On the Unit 2, just backing up to Unit 2, that cleaning out of the culverts and whatnot, and we've kind of discussed it. That will finish that whole unit, correct?
Yes.
That will be completed, and you have addressed with the residents of that neighborhood that in the event they have to have their driveways taken,
Not yet.
that was their responsibility, correct?
Not yet. We have not sent letters or addressed that with those.
You will be sending letters
Yes, we
to
will.
those people? Okay.
Yes. We usually try to send letters to anyone that's affected. We send them letters. And actually Saturday, George and I actually went out and met with 4 residents on Matanzas because they weren't home during the week, and explained to them what's going on. And that really works really well because at least they understand what's going on.
Yeah. I don't want people coming in here a month after we do it or 2 months after we do it thinking that their driveways would be replaced by the district, such as what we encountered in the past. That's all I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Now, the culverts, this is a phase 1. So what we want to do is we want to go in and get these culverts cleaned out. The second part of that is we're going to do an assessment of the swales and any sod replacement. So this is a phase 1.
Right.
Okay.
I understand. And you also mentioned, Tanya, about the property on Pebble Beach, the cut-through, which is good news, I think. There is a landowner, I believe, that has 25 or so lots, and we went to them and said approximately we gave them a ballpark figure of like $680,000 to make that cut-through. Is that the group that came forward, or is it just a single lot owner that came forward?
That's the group.
It's the
Yeah,
group. So
that
the
is the
group for the 25 or so homes.
The representative of the group has agreed to the $18,000 assessment that we're just estimating as a worst-case scenario per lot.
Okay.
We have to still receive consent from there are other property owners that are outside of that group that we'll need consent on before we move forward.
Approximately how many others do we need approval from? Because we'll hold up that 29 units, maybe for just a few.
We have 7 other individual or 9?
7 or 8?
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
I think what Mark's asking is, does it have to be unanimous, or is this a majority?
It has to be unanimous for us to move forward without a public hearing. Right?
Okay.
So
If we don't have unanimous consent, then we have to go through the statutory process.
So those people who want to develop that property back there, who've made a commitment that they were willing to do this, could be held up by
They could be, yes.
those 2 people. Yeah, by 1.
They could.
And if those people that own those lots have no intentions of doing anything, we could be up the creek.
Well, we just have to go through the hearings and all the stuff. I mean, you can still do it.
Yeah, we can still do it, because we're talking about a special assessment, so we can still do the special assessment. It's a much more involved and complicated process if we don't have the unanimous consent.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I kind of bounced around. I was over at unfinished business, I think we already covered, right?
Correct, none.
Okay, new business?
None.
Okay, now we're back on schedule. Committee reports.
No committee reports.
Public comments. Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bob Butts, resident. Concerning the Pebble Beach extension, if you will, I just, I'm not crazy about it, but it's not going to, that's not neither here nor there, but I want you to consider something or think about some things ahead of time before it starts. You're going to have a lot of heavy construction equipment traveling those streets. There's going to be, you just may want to be thinking about, I know my part of Pebble Beach won't take any punishment, anything from heavy equipment without completely tearing it up, because it's not in that good a shape now. On the other side, Mark's side may be a little bit better shape, but just think about the equipment that's going to be traveling through there, back and forth, concrete trucks and blacktop machines and everything. And you may want to have a plan ahead of time of where you're going to allow them to travel and where they cannot travel on our streets, because it could tear them up. So just some food for thought.
No, I think it's a great thought. And it's clearly, the traffic pattern there has been a concern for some people already. At the same token, these people, they own the property there and they can develop it, and if they're willing to pay to put that infrastructure in there, I mean, we can't stop that development. We can only say maybe additional charges would be for any damage done to the roads, I guess.
I've thought about that. We don't want the construction traffic to travel on Pebble on either side. There is a way in, I don't know the street name. Omar's looking at it. I can't even remember. But there's a different way in there from Cortez. So I would prefer all construction traffic to travel Sun and Lake Boulevard to Cortez and then go in. There's a street right off of Cortez that they can reach Pebble on for all construction. So I've thought about that, and I don't want them traveling either side of Pebble to get in for the construction side of it.
Okay. I mean, I don't have any real problem with extending it, but just I'm glad there will be a way in there other than to tear up our streets, because they would be tore up. So that's all.
Thanks, Bob.
See, Columbus, too, we're thinking.
Any further public comment?
Or Columbus.
Yeah.
Discussion to and from the board?
One thing, since the dog park is going to need some attention, should we have somebody from the board as a go-to person for Mike and Tanya?
I didn't get it. What?
I said, since we're re-looking at the dog park, should we have somebody from the board as a go-to person for Mike and Tanya for that project? I'll be glad to do it. I mean, I don't.
Okay, why don't you be the go-to guy since you brought it up?
I think he's kind of biased, though.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You didn't like my drawing, huh?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're the dog park committee.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent, excellent. Any further discussion? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You've got mine, so.